to the Rangers Review morning briefing with me, Jonny McFarlane. Today I'm joined by Joshua Barry. Welcome, Josh.
Back again. Good to be with you as ever, Jonny.
Yeah, you're in front of an unusual background today, Joshua. It looks like you've got a lovely vista of the Scottish Highlands behind you. Is that correct?
That's my mother-in-law's superior art taste. I think it's actually a beach.
Very nice indeed.
Not
sure it's quite as nice as my Rothko, which is not an original, by the way. But nice nonetheless. Josh, right, so first of all, guys, if you're watching via YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. I know I sound like a 12-year-old YouTuber here, but please do that because that gives you notifications on whatever device you're watching from. So the minute we start on one of these videos, you get told. It means if we're running a little bit late, like today, because I had to get my cup of tea and there was various emails that I had to answer, you'll get a notification the moment we arrive here to sit down and start the video, as opposed to sort of waiting for us to start without getting told. Right, moving on to business. What are we going to talk about today? Well, there's not a lot of things happening, which is never great for the morning briefing. However, of course, when it comes to Rangers, there's always stuff to talk about. So we're going to pluck a topic from the website, which is the improvement of Alfredo Morelos under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, the before and after type thing. We're going to discuss that. And guys, obviously, as usual, if you've got any questions, file them into the comments section. And once we get through this topic, we will start picking those off. Right, Joshua, you've written a piece today talking about the improvement in Alfredo Morelos. Listen, we were slaughtering him. Let's not beat around the bush. We were giving him a really hard time in terms of his performances under Steven Gerrard. It's been totally different though under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. What is the data telling us?
Yeah, it has been totally different, and I think it's actually it's almost more simple than it looks, in the sense that Morelos' role has been simplified. His job is, Rangers aren't as dependent on him getting the ball into the box. They're more dependent on him impacting the game once the ball gets there. Think of the St Mirren game at the weekend, for example. Morelos had 10 shots, 4 of which were headers at the back post. So he's in the right areas. But actually, Jonny, his passes, the number of passes he's making a game has gone up surprisingly, as his XG build-up, which measures his effectively is measuring his role and build-up. What's also increased is his touches inside the box by about 3 per game. His XG per 90 has went up from 0.51 to 0.74, and he's taken an extra shot per game. And if you look at his before and after shot map, which, as you say, is on the website, it has taken him 10 less shots, 3 less games to rack up the same amount of goals and same amount of more expected goals in the league. And if you look at those shot locations, again, as I say, there's a real cluster in and around the 6-yard box, whereas before there was a lot of block shots at the edge of the area. And I think, in a way, if you look at the game at St Mirren at the weekend, that felt like one of Morelos' best performances in a long while. And interestingly, if you look back at his you'll remember the 1-1 draw against Hearts, where Morelos had 10 shots and couldn't score. The locations of those shots, again, which are in this article, compared to the locations of the shots against St Mirren, I think do quite a good job of describing his role change. He's really been asked to simplify his role. As Van Bronckhorst said in his first interview, he wants him to play more towards the box. And he also looked, I don't know about you, Jonny, but he certainly looked to really be enjoying himself. I think he was beaming coming off the pitch at half-time on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was. So really good to see, and it looks pretty sustained since the managerial change.
What about the intangibles, Joshua? Listen, you're sitting there in that press box at Ibrox watching the games. I was at the Dundee United game, obviously, and then I was at what game was I at after that? Remind me, Joshua. The Dundee United game, the Dundee game I was at.
Dundee game.
So you always get a much better sense of how a player's doing off the ball when you're at the game. You just don't get a sense of that watching on television. So you, as I say, you're there, you're in the press box week in, week out under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, home and away. What about the intangibles, Joshua? The off the ball work, the attitude. Have you seen a difference there?
Well, again, we wrote this just before Van Bronckhorst came in, that Morelos' pressures per 90, so just in terms of how many times he's pressurising the opposition, they dropped by about 3, I think it was 3.5, which, although not huge, makes a difference in a game. Sometimes it's the difference between pressurising a player and distribution or not. And also, interestingly, one of the things Van Bronckhorst said, I can't remember after which game it was, but a few times he's spoken about Morelos being there as effectively an outball. So when the opposition are pressing Rangers, Morelos needs to, instead of staying in the middle of the pitch, needs to obviously move over side to side, which he did really well. If you think of Ryan Kent's goal against St Johnstone, where Morelos spins over to be the outball for Hadji, I think he's done that a lot better. I still think, I mean, it's hard to know what his instructions is in terms of, if you look at Hearts away, it looked pretty clear that Rangers were trying to encourage Hearts to play long. So instead of wanting Morelos to block these long balls, perhaps they're wanting him to just pressurise, kind of manipulate where the ball's going, and then deal with that and regain possession. But also sometimes I think that can extend itself a little bit to Morelos not cutting passing lanes as well as Akima Roof does, for example, and we wrote that after the Hearts game. So I still think there is off-the-ball work there to do. If you look at his interception season on season from his first 4 seasons at Ibrox, or sorry, his 3 seasons under Gerrard, went up season on season. I think anyone who's watched Rangers would have seen there was, derailing's too strong a word, but there was a lot of Morelos performances this season where you find it hard to argue that he was fully invested. Now, that might be that he was disenfranchised with his role. He was frustrated with other elements of his performance. Obviously, we just see the football side. We don't know what's actually going on with all these guys, but I think it's pretty undeniable that he's enjoying this new role. He's enjoying that he can still be involved outside the box to good effect. He's certainly not dropping quite as deep, but his main role, as I say, is connecting with those crosses like Barisic put into the box, trying to roll defenders a little bit more again, and the way that Van Bronckhorst used the strikers in the past, I think, lended itself to what Morelos needed to do to get back to his best, and certainly so far it looks like he's doing that.
Yeah, got a few comments here coming in. Andrew Simpson, his attitude is great and he holds the ball well, comes back and is a better passer now. There is Rob Carroll saying Morelos missed a few, but he's getting in the right places now, so more goals will come. Then there's Michael Stone here. Anyone still on the cans from Christmas? Well, Michael, I've got a heavily pregnant wife, so I can't even have a glass of wine in case she or waters break or something like that, and I've got to run her back super fast to the hospital. So that's been a bit of a nightmare over Christmas. Joshua, you still on the cans?
Not at this time. Actually,
too early for you.
Yesterday was the first day, was it 29th, 28th? Yesterday was the first day where I thought I really shouldn't have a brewdog tonight, but I did have red wine with dinner. So it's getting to that time where in between Christmas and New Year, you forget what day it is. But me and you, Jonny, we're still working away, aren't we? So we can't afford to be off top form, so to say.
Yeah, the fun never stops when you're a football journalist at this time of year. Jamie Waddle, do you think that because Gio speaks Spanish, it helps? Now, listen, that's a good question, and that's something I think a lot of us are actually talking about, Joshua. You know, is there more of a connection there? Because not just Gio, but also you've got Roy Mackay, speaks fluent Spanish. 2 guys there, the 2 main guys, arguably, can communicate with Morelos in a much more direct way. Now, listen, Michael Beale, I think, could speak Spanish. I think
it was Portuguese, was it not?
Portuguese, yeah. So I'm talking nonsense there. Sorry. So do you think that could be a factor there in terms of just getting Morelos to do exactly what you want him to do?
I think it probably, these little things do come into it, just as with any workplace. I'd imagine that's the case. But I think more so, Jonny, it might just be a case of cycles in football. Very few managers, I think, can get a high level out of players, especially players like Morelos, who, you know, can blow hot and cold at points. To be able to do that for a 4th season in a row, maybe it was just the messaging wasn't going in, as with a lot of players, and I don't think that's necessarily anything to do with the previous regime whatsoever. It certainly seemed like Morelos had a good relationship with Gerrard. Gerrard in the first season and a half put his neck on the line for Morelos, plenty of times. Maybe it was just a case of Morelos wasn't quite enjoying the role as much by that point. And you want to score goals. He wants to be in the Colombia squad. The role that he was playing was probably not lending itself enough as much to scoring goals. But then also, as you mentioned, is it just that bursting to get into the box once you've done the work outside it that comes into it? I'm sure that did have an effect. I also wrote a couple of months ago about Morelos, looking at how Antonio Conte, when he was speaking about Harry Kane, who, Morelos played quite a similar role for Rangers in terms of linking the play, turning and fizzing those balls around the side. And Conte was speaking in the summer about it and saying, I just want him to spend more time in the box. And again, that simplification, which Van Bronckhorst seems to have brought in, means that Morelos still can be involved in the build-up higher up the pitch and closer to the box, but ultimately his role is to be in and around the box. And I think, again, one of his first interviews, Van Bronckhorst spoke about, he's still got a tendency to drop into midfield. That'll take a little bit more time. Rangers have also improved and played a lot of passes in some of these games, which also affects how many average passes Morelos is playing per game. But I think lots of factors come into it. I think that the biggest one might just be that after 3 years, like a lot of players and even the management staff, sometimes the time for change is just right. And as has been the case so far, everything's falls into place to kind of show that in hindsight.
Yeah, we've got Roy Nelson there. Good morning, Jonny and Joshua. A rather good evening from Malacca in Malaysia. Hope you're recovering, Jonny. I'm just about there, Roy. Thanks for asking. Been a bit brutal with the old COVID, but probably a sign that I need to get myself in a bit better shape. John Dooley. Good morning, Jonny and Joshua. Do you think if Rangers sign Xavi Simons, he'll go straight into the first team or development squad? There's right. First of all, I think it would be an incredible signing if Rangers were able to sign Xavi Simons, and I'm still a bit dubious about a lot of these reports, to be honest. I'm not sure where this latest one that emerged last night has come from. Sometimes in the world of journalism, there can be secular reports where almost a report arrives somewhere and it's reported all around, and then someone else reports it again 2 weeks later, and then everyone reports it again. So I'm not sure that's not actually what happened here. What's to bear in mind about Xavi Simons is that his agent is Mino Raiola. He's a very, very talented young player. Now, obviously, the fact that he's Dutch and the fact Rangers manager is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst gives you this link a bit of tangibility, because Gio will know the player inside out. But Xavi Simons is one of the best young players at PSG. And I think he'll be able to get big money somewhere. So if Rangers were to be able to sign this kid, it'd be unbelievable. That's the first thing. It would be a huge signing. Secondly, this guy is not going to go into a development squad for Rise of Rangers.
I love the idea.
He'd be straight in the first team. I think we might do something on him today, and just as the level of quality this guy's got. Joshua, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm an expert on Xavi Simons, but from what I have seen, I mean, this kid has got serious potential. Think, the year 1999 Barry Ferguson, but probably, even maybe more talented.
Playing for PSG, yeah. Well, and I think he played for PSG the weekend, didn't he? Started in midfield for them. So I, as you say, I mean, I don't know the legitimacy of such links. I don't think it's improbable that Rangers, as a team that will be hopefully in the Champions League next season, signs players that the other teams want, or signs players on loan from some of the best teams in the world like PSG. But certainly, I think if Rangers, if that was a legitimate link, that would be a very impressive first deal by Van Bronckhorst. But yeah, saying that, Jonny, Rangers will operate in a slightly higher market if they do get that Champions League, not just the money, but also the appeal of the Champions League. So we'll just have to wait and see. But certainly, I think he'd be expecting to play in the first team if hypothetically he was to come over. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, okay, we've got one here from Billy McWhirter. Can you see a centre half coming in this window? Now, here's the situation, Billy. You've got Jack Simpson there, who, let's be honest, just hasn't cracked it at Rangers. Doesn't look like he's in favour under Gio. Hasn't had a sniff really. So I think he's one that would maybe, if he wants more game time, might want to go out on loan. Whether or not Rangers would want that themselves, given the lack of cover there, I don't know. Certainly, I think there's a possibility of that. You've got Nico Katic is obviously still out on loan. Don't see that changing anytime soon. Connor Goldson is playing superbly well. His contract situation is a different matter. I don't think he's going anywhere. Philip Hollander should be coming back into contention. Calvin Bassey is now doing superbly well at centre half. I've got to be honest, I think Calvin Bassey will now be seen as a centre half who can play auxiliary as a left back.
Yeah.
Leon Balogun's coming back to fitness on the right centre back role. I don't think Rangers need a centre half this window. Joshua, do you?
No, not this window. I guess the only appeal, Jonny, would be that if there is a bit of movement in the summer, that you get someone in early, as was meant to happen with Simpson. Obviously, it's not quite worked out as either party would hope, but Balogun's deal is up in the summer. Hollander has a year and a half left on his deal. Goldson's up in the summer. Simpson is still yet to impress. So there remains quite a lot of uncertainty, I think, over the long-term future there. But saying that, if you can, there's no reason why Calvin Bassey can't kind of answer half of that conundrum and offer some stability, certainly in that left centre half role. And it's 9 games. I think 9 games he's played there, and I don't think he's hardly put a foot wrong whatsoever. There's no real reason to move him back to left back, and I don't see Van Bronckhorst doing that. I think all the noises seem to be that he'll trust. You say young players, but I think Bassey's now, is he 23? So he's coming into a stage where he isn't so much young anymore, but it's time for him to then go and make his place in the starting 11. So there's no reason for me to move him back there, especially given that the left back role under Gerrard would have probably suited his best strengths better than what Gio's asking of his fullbacks. Barisic can tuck in, form part of the back three, arrive and provide those real moments of high quality as he did for Morelos' the cross from Morelos' goal against St Mirren on Sunday. Whereas, you look at the attributes that Bassey can bring to the centre of that defence in terms of protection against long balls, because of his pace in behind. He can break through the middle of the pitch at times if needed. He can step up and be aggressive in the line above the centre of defence and offer that bit of protection at source. So no reason for me to move him back, certainly watching on. I think the only way we'd see a centre half come in is if for some reason something happened with Goldson. I don't see him leaving, or there was an opportunity to bring someone in who, like Simpson or like worked a little bit better with Wright, I guess, would have the benefit of having a few months with the coaching staff before taking on a bigger role in the summer.
Some of the comments are making me sort of giggle here. Some people having a bit of fun with the idea of Yavi Simmons. Yavi Simmons is a poor man's McCann, according to Simple Kind of Man. Simmons is no Stephen Kelly, says CGM 55. And my favourite one, Simmons has a Bar Jonas poster on his wall.
With a Kelly Hart stop on. With him.
Leon King, that's a good question from Roy Nelson. Will he leave or is he someone who could come into the centre half reckoning? I think he's someone that they need to start thinking about giving a pathway, Joshua.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will, because he was on the bench recently as well, wasn't he? So he's certainly in the first team picture, and maybe I certainly don't see him being someone that answers that question next season. But if he's that highly thought of, there does need to be a pathway, and I'm sure that comes into consideration when you're looking at scouting a certain area. You also have. I think you're right in saying that players need to see a pathway, and when you have highly rated youngsters like a Nathan Patterson who could go elsewhere, and that this stage of their development is so important, they need to see a pathway into the first team. But I think Van Bronckhorst will definitely offer that. I don't think Gerrard had a very good track record with playing youngsters. Van Bronckhorst obviously as of yet hasn't, but when he has a little bit more time in the training pitch, as he will, and then I'm sure we'll start to see the fruits of some of that. So I don't know how far Leon King is from first team level. I don't know how far he is from starting for Rangers. But if he's in and around the first team squad, you have to imagine it's not that far away. And certainly, as we've just discussed, with the amount of indecision over who will be there next season, with Balogun, Goldson, Hollander only a year and a half left in his deal, there is the opportunity, as Bassey has done, to I'm sure at some point take advantage of that and take your place in the first team and then not lose it because you're playing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we have gone over time and we were a little bit late in starting, so we're going to have to call it a day here. Guys, just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, and we know many thousands of you are every day, please smash that subscribe button. I know it makes me sound like a 13-year-old YouTuber. However, it's important. It means that whenever we go live, I've used that joke twice.
You said 12-year-old first time, so you went up.
Yeah, I'm up in the game gradually. Very, very getting there soon. Yeah, smash that like button or the follow button or the subscribe button or whatever button it is, and it means you'll get a notification the minute we go live. We're not just going live in the morning, remember, at 9:30 every day, weekdays, but we're also doing it whenever there's big breaking Rangers news with first reaction. So please do that. Also, get on our website, www.rangers.co.uk. You can subscribe for $2.99 a month, and that gives you access to all our premium content. We do deep dives in terms of tactics, analysis. We've got a exclusive partnership with StatsBomb, which allows us to get the best data about Rangers, the best tactical insight about Rangers, and much, much more, including big interviews with a former Rangers star every week where we go right into the detail of their career. It's not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. It's a proper sit down with a cup of coffee and a sandwich and enjoy it over 20 minutes. Really, really get to know whichever player it is, or a former coach or former whatever. It's someone that was involved with Rangers, basically. So stick around for that. Come on and join the fun. As I say, it's only $2.99 a month. Okay, guys, we will be back tomorrow. Derek Clark, you may remember him, the Ginger Ninja, will be back here alongside Joshua Barry. I will be enjoying some well-earned rest tomorrow. Finally get one of my loo days, so I will stick my feet up and I'll be watching the briefing, sending in abusive messages in the comments. But I won't be here, so it'll be Derek and Joshua. I look forward to that one tomorrow. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching.